our garden wall. I hear the sirens call. You can have what you want. Yeah, you can have it all. Over our garden wall.
Hello there and welcome to episode 9 of Bay City Polar Series 2 and on this music podcast we have been setting out to put together a list of the greatest Scottish albums ever. We've been doing a bunch of stuff on Twitter X and debating them on the podcast and having a whole bunch of polls as we've been going along. So we will chat about semi-finals and finals tonight and just introduce the guys. So we have Caroline Binney with us again. Hello Caroline.
Hello, Brian.
How are we?
We're fine. It's all getting very tense on the polling front, isn't it?
Tense is one of the words, absolutely, that would spring to mind. Good to see you again. And we also have Colin McCready. Hi, Colin.
Hi, guys.
How are we, mate, apart from being top of the league?
Yeah, very good. Yes, my team is holding out so far. I'm not feeling tense.
Okay, excellent.
I'm feeling, I feel as if I don't have a horse in the race, so I'm just quite enjoying the drama of it all.
And there has been a wee bit of that. So, yeah, so indeed. So what we done was at the weekend, we had the semi-finals, which were really popular, which was good fun. And we had a couple of issues as we went through the votes that you probably noticed. Issue number one was that we got about 5 hours into the Waterboys Simple Minds vote, and I got a message from Mike Scott saying that the hashtag Twitter handle for Simple Minds wasn't working. So I think we had about 40 or so kind of reshares at that point. So obviously how these work is that they go out to anyone following the respective Twitters, and his view was that wasn't very fair. I was at the Morton game at half time, so I made a decision to cancel the vote and start again, which I think on hindsight was probably the right thing to do. So, but yeah, so that was fun. Don't know if you seen that at the time. I think I might have messaged you about it.
Yes,
yeah.
did see it. Yeah,
I think I was watching the Morton game.
You probably hear me swearing on the TV.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what I was doing, but I definitely wasn't watching the Morton game.
I've got to say, Mike Scott needs to be given the Over Our Garden Wall Special Peace Prize for doing a bit of a Donald Trump there and being very fair. I think that was a very nice gesture of him to point that out. I wouldn't have done it.
Oh, just head down and get on with it.
Yeah.
I think the vote was about 54-46 or something to the Waterboys at the time. But you're right, there's an option there to just, say nothing and let it play out. But yeah, listen, thanks to Mike for doing that.
Yeah, it's cool.
To let me look, as usual, unorganised and flapping about, trying to come up with a vote again. So we got it back out again and we ended up with 2 votes over the rest of the weekend, which was good. So let me just pull up, I've got the slide with the final results on it, hopefully. Just double check we're okay there?
Yep.
Magic. So, so we had only 2 obviously in the running. I suppose the sort of bigger one was Fisherman's Blues New Gold Dream, which ended up, pretty comfortable for Fisherman Blues, and the other one which moved around a little bit, but the Crossing was pretty much ahead for the gestation of it. So we both fairly comfortable winners overall. What's your thoughts on that, Caroline?
I think I probably would have predicted that that's what the final was going to be as we progressed through the voting, and you could see kind of where the trends were going.
Yeah, and even for the Simple Mind stuff, because the 2 or 3 rounds before that, they'd absolutely caned whoever they were playing.
Yeah, no, I just had a feeling because the Waterboys had pulled really strongly the whole way through in this. Obviously, it was very sad to see Edwin go, but I will have the pleasure of seeing him in Spain next month, so that makes up.
I like that. Yeah, I saw that. That would be fantastic. Okay, and Crossing was a kind of comfortable winner as well. No great surprises with that.
No, again, it pulled really strongly all the way through. It seemed to have a lot of support.
Maybe come back to that in a second. Colin, what was your take?
Yeah, I wouldn't have. If you'd have said to me 7 podcasts ago who the last 2 would be, I probably might have gone for a Fisherman's Blues, but Big Country seem to have come from nowhere, and week on week seem to be building and building and building. So yeah, it was what I sort of expected. I think probably Simple Minds, maybe less fan engagement on the vote. Maybe the Waterboys seem to have like a very strong support out there. So yeah, I think it was always going to be the Waterboys v Big Country.
Yeah, quite interesting because I think for the Big Country vote as well, there's a fairly strong, active conversation going on about the band generally and about the album specifically, which is great. I mean, the guys are engaged and they really like it, which is fantastic. But it's interesting because the Skids did okay when they were in the vote, but they went out quite comfortably. They weren't, there wasn't the same kind of engagement, or didn't appear to be, for the Skids at the time. So I'm not too sure why Big Country have sort of touched that nerve, but maybe it's just some of the voting friends that we have on Twitter, maybe. The
I
other
quite
thing,
enjoyed Mike Scott's little stories about his connection to meeting Stuart Adamson and the Skids, and I thought, did you see that?
I did, Colin, and
Yeah,
I'll find that and make sure we reshare it again as we
yeah,
get
it's really
towards the
nice.
final. Yeah, some really nice stuff around him living in Dunfermline and bumping into him and Bruce Watson and that kind of stuff. So yeah, and also quite early. It was all late 70s, I think, from memory. So they must have been pretty young, I think, at the time.
That would have been when Mike was in Another Pretty Face, I would imagine.
Yeah, a couple of bands, I think, from
Mhm.
memory, Caroline, from whatever he had before that, moving into Another Pretty Face, was
Yeah,
that
because
period? Yeah,
I think someone had said it was a previous band. I think he'd said they played Cumbernauld Theatre maybe as well. Someone had said that.
right.
I just think Mike Scott's coming across as an absolute gentleman on
Yeah.
this. I think he seems like a genuinely decent, nice guy.
And you wonder how much engagement they have elsewhere. I mean, I don't follow that much music chat, but I think you said quite a while back, Colin, that some of these guys quite enjoy having their music back in the kind of public domain and getting a bit of kudos out of doing that. And Mike seems to be one of the guys like that. So, which is nice. The other thing I was going to mention, was just quite interesting. So the Fisherman Blues vote was about 990 votes, and the Rip It Up vote was about 565, right? Which is fine. But if you apply the percentage to each of the votes, New Gold Dream get the same amount of votes as the Crossing.
Oh,
Mm,
that's
interesting.
interesting.
Give or take a vote, and I haven't rounded it up or down, but pretty much 360, 61 votes, something like that. So isn't that interesting?
So
So,
that would have been that's interesting. See if we'd have done a four vote, Simple
Yeah.
Minds could have gone through ahead of Big Country.
Absolute toss of the coin.
Oh,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
if they'd been drawn separately
yeah,
or against each other, rather.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. But they weren't, and that's the romance of the cup, as you say, right? So, but that's worth mentioning. What else happened? Yeah, we then at the back end of the vote when it finished, we then had Mike sharing his stories that you mentioned, Colin, which was lovely. We then had Edwin come onto the chat and start to tell us about the guitar that he played on Rip It Up, which was a £20 guitar out of somewhere in Glasgow.
Hmm.
And all the stories off the back of that, all happening after the votes finished, as only Edwin can do. But that was lovely. And then we had Lloyd Cole decided to join us from somewhere. He's Australia or somewhere, isn't
Mhm.
he? Must have had a bit of downtime, telling us that we were all wrong and Hats is the best Scottish album ever. What's your thoughts on that?
That's Lloyd's choice. I wouldn't even have it as my favourite Blue Nile album. So, but
It's all
I-
subjective.
yeah, I noticed that Lloyd is Lloyd having a bit of an issue with Dire Straits at the moment. I've not quite worked out what's going on, but
I don't
he,
know.
he seems to be having an issue with Dire Straits and Sultans of Swing for some reason.
He seems to play Dire Straits and then decide he doesn't like it at
Doesn't
all.
like them, yeah.
I don't know
I
why
think
he's
he did
playing
the
it.
same with Steely Dan previously.
Yeah, I don't know why he's playing it, and so.
I know.
So yeah, so it was lovely. We had, what was that, 1,600 votes, give or take, which for two votes is really good. So yeah, loved that. So we've got obviously got two through now, Fisherman's Blues versus the Crossing for the final. So as you said earlier, Colin, I don't think anyone would have predicted that a few votes ago. So, like a good cup should be.
Yep.
Yeah. So, not saying that these things are all absolute, are they? It's just moment in time and the fun of doing it the way we've done it, which has been really nice.
But it's the same way that, we're saying there, if Simple Minds were drawn with Big Country, then maybe they would have gone through. But it's the same way that if Celtic get drawn with Rangers, one of them goes out. And if, so it's just that way. If it opens up for you, suddenly you can win the cup. And
Totally.
it's fun.
And that's probably where the crossing sits, I think.
Yeah.
It's a couple of relatively soft draws, and all of a sudden, as you say, they're sitting in the final. So that'll be interesting. And also, just a shout out to a couple of the guys that are at the beginning adopted an album. So we've got Desperate But Not Serious and Walk For It, who are now both through to the final. And we will find a way to shower those guys with some sort of rewards, actual or virtual. I haven't quite worked that one out yet, but we'll definitely do that, including inviting them on if they want to come on and say hello to the podcast. They're very welcome to it. I'm sure there'll be value added. Okay, and I'll take us into a kind of another wee chat about where all this is going around, Scottish albums and stuff. But I did scribble down that we've got two albums in the final. One band member across the two albums born in Scotland, and neither of the albums recorded in Scotland, which I thought I'll just kind of leave that hanging because it probably takes us on to a chat. But I don't know how you do an album list on, say, Scottish albums without putting rules in saying they must have been born here or lived here for 50 years or whatever. So, any thoughts on that?
I think it's quite interesting. I think it comes down to the way we think about Scottish independence and being part of like Scotland as a country. It's not about being born here or, I think it's about being having that ethos in you or and there's lots of bands we could question, are they Scottish, are they not Scottish? For me, it's just a kind of gut feeling, I think. And Big Country are a Scottish band, there's no question. I think back to the Waterboys, and as you say, Mike Scott has been the constant there. It is his band. He is Scottish, and they've played historically, going back to supporting Simple Minds at Ibrox, and they've got a big show coming up at the Hydro, and his connection with places like Fintorn and things like that. To me, the Waterboys are a Scottish band. It's maybe not a Scottish album. It was recorded in Ireland. The themes are quite Irish, but they're a Scottish band for me. There'd be other ones I would argue against, but yeah, for me, they both are Scottish bands.
Carly?
I think, well, Colin used the words I was going to use, which is ethos. And I think it's also about how they identify themselves. And I think in both cases, they would identify themselves as very much coming from Scottish cultural mix. And I suppose generally, if people are considering themselves to be Scottish bands, they do have a very, very strong connection and a sense of place and tradition and history and base here.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And it's that bit about what was the bit that fundamentally shaped them as artists or bands, I think, is maybe what then takes them down that path of being Scottish. So I remember when we did some votes months ago now where we did that Scottishness vote, and the highest vote we had was Big Country. 99% or something like that from memory. And I laughed at the time because it polled higher than the Proclaimers.
Yeah.
And I thought,
I think people were pulling your leg on that one, Brian.
I thought, Charlie and the guys must have voted against themselves, but there is just a feeling that's just what they are, and and
I mean, Stuart Adamson's guitar sound, could anything be more Scottish?
that's very true, very true. Right, so let's have a wee bit of fun for a couple of minutes. So I have wrote down 5 or 6 band artists here that that we're going to apply the Scottishness test to. Okay, so just looking for gut feel here, so don't agonise on it. We're going forever. I'll give you a soft one to start with. Ross Stewart.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Although he would probably disagree with me.
Well, he wears the tartan. What's the
And
park
supports the team.
What's the team? Colin?
There's I could see both. he certainly, some of his, could you say Maggie May has a Scottishness to it? Has sailing got a Scottishness
Yeah.
to
Absolutely.
it? I'd say he was an honorary Scot. He maybe spends more time in Scotland than a lot of maybe other people
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would claim him as one of ours, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I wouldn't fall out over it.
Yeah, especially when we're playing England, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So born in London, dad was Scottish, and I noticed that he recorded sailing in Miami, which I think was quite apt, bearing in mind the songs about sailing. I did a wiki check on all of these guys just to see what wiki called them. So Rod is British,
yeah.
according to Wikipedia, which of course means he can be Scottish as well, right? But so there's
If he
Rod.
was a footballer and he wanted to play for Scotland,
He
like
could.
someone like Scott McTominay, we would call him Scottish.
I get that.
So
He's
if
no,
he wants to identify as Scottish, then yeah, I would take him.
that's fine. I'm fine with that. So that's the
Yeah.
question. He's never, to the best of my knowledge, lived in the country ever. Which leave that one
Hi,
hanging.
but he's done karaoke in a bar in Falkirk a month ago. That makes him more Scottish than anyone.
Right, okay. AC/DC, Carling.
No, no.
Okay. No, no, no. Angus Young, Malcolm Young, Bon Scott, all two in Glasgow, one in Currymuir, I think.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I think there's a statue to Bon in Currymuir.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Colin?
no.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. He's the
A band
classified.
with a band with Scottish members, but I don't think any of their ethos or sensibility would be particularly Scottish.
Yeah, and only except when they played Glasgow Polo and had all the Scotland tops on and stuff
That's right.
on YouTube. It's quite famous. They moved away when they were, I think, 7 and 10, I think. They moved to Sydney and yeah, they started their band when they were yeah living in Sydney. So they're Australian on Wikipedia. So that'll do for me. Okay, Dire Straits, Caroline.
I never even ever thought of them as being Scottish.
The 50% of
Seemed
the
to be
band,
for me, they're sort of a quintessential English band.
50% of the band were born in Glasgow.
Mhm.
No, Colin.
No, interestingly, I was chatting to a guy last week who'd been in Local Hero the musical, and he was raving about Martin Offler being such a great guy, and he was in rehearsals the whole time, and
Mm.
took them all out for drinks and let them play his guitars, and just that he was a genuinely lovely guy. And I did say to him, I said, "Oh, did he talk about being Scottish or Glasgow, or did he identify? Did he identify as Scottish at all?" And he went, "No." But that was just in his, rehearsal period working with him. But I
Yeah,
thought that was quite interesting that he didn't play the kind of I'm a Scot card or whatever. So
yeah.
to me, I would say maybe no.
No, I'd agree with that. But you mean the card Rod would have played if he was doing the soundtrack?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually got a message. I asked David Knopfler the question last night about did that ever come up in conversation in the band, and he said no, in a word. He said I've never even thought about it other than being born in Glasgow, but it's certainly not been a band discussion about whether we're Scottish or British. Formed in London, I think. So they're British on Wikipedia. Right, what about this one? John Martin, Caroline.
Yes, I know he wasn't born in Scotland. He was born in Surrey,
He
but he
was.
spent a lot of his childhood in Glasgow with his granny. So I think that kind of qualifies him for it.
He did. Well, he split, I think, between there and his mum was in a boathouse or something, wasn't she, in England? So he used to move up and down.
I know.
Um,
I think John Martin's got quite a lot of Scottish characteristics.
yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, Colin,
Scottish for me.
Scottish.
Went to school in Shawlands Academy, went to Glasgow School of Art. So for me, that would put him alongside Lloyd Cole, who went to Glasgow University.
Yeah,
So yeah, John Martin, I'm having as Scottish.
okay,
Yes, and
I'm fine with that. So there
he
you
looks Scottish. He
are.
looks Scottish.
I
He
saw John
drunk. He
Martin.
drank like a Scotsman.
I was at a John Martin gig years ago at Fat Sam's in Dundee, and I'll tell you about that another time off air. So born in Surrey, died in Kilkenny, split his time between England and Scotland, recorded Solitaire in London, and he's Scottish. So
Yeah.
Just shows you, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Colin, one of yours, Snow Patrol.
Yeah, I was thinking about that last night. So to me, again, you would need to ask them the question.
Yeah.
But they met at Dundee University. They formed at Dundee University. They moved to Glasgow. They were very much part. That's where the band were signed and recorded, and were very much part of the Glasgow scene, and played alongside lots of other Scottish bands. So to me, you could claim them to be Scottish, but I don't know what they were created and formed and achieved their success being in Scotland. So I would claim them.
Okay, Caroline.
I would probably let Ireland take them.
Well said.
Why?
Very diplomatic, Caroline. Would you like to expand on that?
I don't particularly think of them being a Scottish band, nor indeed an Irish band, but although I know that's where the guys originated from.
Yeah.
But the genre doesn't seem to me to be particularly Scottish.
Yeah, maybe. But Colin's right. Formed in Dundee, lived in Glasgow. The three core members, first two albums are very much a kind of Glasgow-based albums. And then when they broke out, they kind of started to drift and move away a little bit.
Also, he was part of the Reindeer. Is it the Reindeer selection?
Yeah,
Who were a Glasgow supergroup. So, yeah, definitely part of the Glasgow scene. So yeah, I think we would have to see what Gary Lightbody thinks.
Yeah, maybe. The class has been from they're Northern Irish band on Wikipedia. So my question to you would be if it was, I can't remember that. Is it Eyes Open was the album? Was it? If it was Eyes Open versus The Crossing in the final, would you be okay with that as a Scottish album?
I would be,
You would be.
but lots of other people probably wouldn't,
Okay.
including me.
including Caroline.
That might be to do with the quality of the album, possibly, I think, from Caroline's side, but she's been too nice about that. Okay, what was my last one? Yeah, it was yours as well. Emily Sandé. Colin.
Yeah, so I think Emily Sandé wasn't born in Scotland. Parents weren't Scottish, but schooled in Scotland, schooled in Aberdeen. Kind of really interesting example of multicultural Scotland.
Yeah.
So for me, I would be claiming Emily Sandé.
Caroline?
I think she went to Glasgow Uni as well, so yeah, I would take
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, I would say so too, and I'm sure I've read interviews with her when she talks about connections to Scotland and whatever.
Yeah, absolutely have. Yeah, kind of reminds me of Annie Lennox a lot. I know she's from Aberdeen, I think, is she?
Yeah.
But I don't always think of her as just being Scottish until I hear from her. And then she's very Scottish in how she sees life and back to that kind of values thing. And yeah, interesting. Isn't it interesting? Could go all day. Almost should just start some polls on it again. See.
No.
I don't know, you keep putting the fire out and it keeps self-igniting
Oh,
again. I don't know how
I'm
many
doing
times you've had that conversation on X.
about it. So anyway, but it's nice they've got an interest, so thanks for that. And it probably does show that it's not the easiest thing to pin down. No doubt we'll get some comments about it. All right. Oh, she's Scottish on Wikipedia. Sorry, I forgot to tell you that.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, well done, Wiki. So what have we got? A couple of wash-ups. So we're going to do the final certainly in the next week or so, once the diaries are all aligned, which will be good. So as well as doing the vote off for the final, we'll probably do a third and fourth place.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't we? And that'll allow us to do a full list because I'm going back through the 32 we had and getting them in a bit of order just now. So we've done 17 to 32. And I think Rattlesnakes, come top of that pile. And we're just about to start, what is that, 9 to 16, is it? And Walk Across the Rooftops will probably be top of that pile, was my guess. So, but we'll get that ordered anyway, and then we'll have 8 to 1 by the time we get through the final, if that sounds like a plan.
Yeah, sounds good.
It does, yeah. So we also had so we've got the critics list, so we've got about 22, 23 people have given us their own top 20, kind of 1 to 20 from the list. So I'm going to sort of scrabble all that together next week or so, see what that tells us for the final podcast. These are both very welcome, of course, if you've got the time.
Is it 20 from the 32?
Correct, yeah.
Right.
I listen, I've had everything. Davy Scott delighted at the weekend because the Pale Fishers were on.
Hellfishers,
Yeah, I
yeah.
saw that. Yeah.
Great, I love Pale
Mhm.
Fishers. So, but again, I'm not starting again.
Mhm.
So yeah, off the 32 column, but only if you want to, mate. But we'll also do the predict the final. Well, we've got the final now, but we'll predict the result comp that we've done to win books and stuff. So we'll do one for the final. I've got 3 books now because Mary Ann won the books from Sydney, and she politely messaged me, says, "Don't send them out. It'll cost you a couple of grand to post the books out. Never mind the books themselves." So I've got the 2 books from last one, plus we'll add another one on for the final. So we'll do predict the winner and probably guess the percentage maybe
Mhm.
of the winner, and the nearest gets the books, I guess,
Cool.
which is cool. Yeah, I got the adopters thing I mentioned, and also
I was going to ask about that actually. Do you know where your adopters are based? Are they actually in Scotland or are they spread throughout the planet?
great question. That's a great question. I've no idea. I think they're localish.
Mhm.
UK maybe. I don't know, but they've been on the chart for a while. So
Mhm.
yeah, I've no idea. If I'm honest with you, find out when one of them wins.
Just be nice to know what your reach was.
Well, Sydney's not bad.
No, this is true.
Not bad at all. And also, what was I going to say? Yeah, we're also hoping. So one of the things we hope to do was to get maybe a guest contributor who connected to the 2 albums in the final to have a chat with us at some point. So all things being equal, I'll be doing that as well in the next few days, and I'll just find a way to either bolt it onto the podcast or just put a little link out as a kind of add-on if we get the chance to do that, which would be a bit of insight, hopefully, which would be good. And I think that's all I've got here. Have we missed anything?
Not that
Colin,
I can think of.
any new comps for me, Colin, to be doing? Any?
No, I think you're doing well.
Okay, thanks for that. Caroline, have we missed anything?
No, I have every confidence that you've got it all covered.
Oh, man alive. Ask me that
Mhm.
in a week.
Mhm.
So all I've got to do is to get one vote out and get it all typed up properly
Mhm.
and,
And
and hope it
proofread
works. And hope it works. Yeah,
proofread
absolutely.
the links.
Maybe, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But it's been good fun. We've got one more vote to go. We'll have another podcast for sure to chat about the final result and any lessons learned for the whole thing. And
Why you'll never do it again.
and a summer sabbatical on its way for sure. But no, it's been great, and thanks to everyone out there for watching because and taking part. We really appreciate it. It's been really good fun. And until next time, stay safe, and we will catch you soon. All the best now. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Over our garden wall, I hear the sirens call. You can have what you want. Yeah, you